Hello, and welcome to another episode of the New World Comics Podcast. I'm Buck Berlin, owner-operator of this fine establishment. Joined with me this week is my lovely wife, Keara.
Hi.
Yay! And this week we are talking about Batman Day.
Batman Day.
Depending on when you watch this, if you watch this right as it drops, Batman Day's tomorrow. And we're all super stressed out and freaking out about the amazing day that we're going to put on for you all. So, yeah. But she is on in particular because she kind of sort of started the idea for
I'm getting all kinds of credit
Batman
here.
Day. Yeah, because though we don't get the recognition that I feel we deserve for it, we started Batman Day.
Yeah.
Like the National Batman Day that's going on.
We were the first.
Yeah, we started it.
So, fun story. This was flashback 2012. We hadn't gotten married yet. I am on my way home from work, and a bus drives by, and on it is the most amazing, cheesy mural of Batman Live. The arena show is coming to Oklahoma City. Thought, that looks just cheesy fantastic enough. I have to get this for Brian for his birthday.
Yes, and yeah,
whatever.
For everyone's edification, my real name is Brian. So, and she met me.
I am physically incapable of calling him Buck without kind of giggling.
Yeah. So,
So it's his code name.
Yeah. So when you all hear Brian, she means me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So,
I don't have some sort of duality going on or anything.
Most people who come around the shop realize that I'm the only person in the entire world.
Not any. There's other high school people.
High school people, my parents,
other people that have met me as Brian. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, way to interrupt me.
Yep.
It's married life. So Batman Live on the side of a bus, and I figured this is something we have to go see. And so I bought tickets, and I surprised him, and I swear you nearly cried.
Oh, man, I was
so excited about Batman Live.
Batman Live, you're going to go see Batman.
Who doesn't want to? Yeah. It promised, it was a stunt show. It had motorcycles. It had acrobatics. It had, fake fight scenes. I don't know what else. It had light show, fireworks. It was
they were like, see the Batmobile.
Yeah.
And venture into the Bat Cave and do all this stuff.
Stunt skateboards. I don't remember exactly what all was in it.
All this cool stuff, and I was like, oh my god. Yes, we have to go to this.
So I looked into it, and Batman Live was actually started in England, and so they had hired the entire crew, the cast. Most of them were British. Batman was a British guy who was just so excited about being Batman. So they came to Oklahoma City, of all places in the world, to do their show, and we get there, and the crowd is almost like a ghost town. There's hardly anybody at this show. Well, there's us.
Tickets were kind of expensive.
A little. They were a little bit expensive.
Kind of what it was. Like
the setup was really cool. They had, there was a cityscape on stage. There was the Batmobile was up here rotating around. There was
and they had whenever they'd go into the city, these buildings would roll out further into the stage, so you'd know that it was in the city, and then they'd retract back when it was time to be in the Batcave.
So the set changes were really cool. There was a lot of scaffolding and people dropping from the ceiling, doing cool moves. Although there was a moment when Batman dramatically comes down on his grapple, to go and be dramatic, and his harness won't come undone. And so he's fighting with his harness, and they keep on looping the music in the background, trying to kill time to get him out of his harness.
The carabiner off his belt.
Yeah, it was kind of sad. So that was a moment where were we one of the first shows? I think we were a daytime show before they had really gotten
we were
their groove.
Their second show.
Yeah. So it was a daytime show, which probably explained why the crowd was so light. But we were some of the few adults in the crowd, but even the kids really weren't getting it. There were some really amazing stunts, really cool acrobatics, motorcycle stunts that were fairly amazing. And it was the kids in the audience were
what's it where she twirls up the
it was like a silk acrobatics. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but she was it was really neat. But there was no impressing these kids. They were just, Mom, I want popcorn. Where's my cotton candy? And so he and I are sitting here.
We're like,
Anytime
"Woo,
they did
Batman!"
something really cool, we're applauding really, really dramatically, going, woo, pointedly looking at the people around us. Why are you not applauding? These people are putting their heart and soul into this stunt show, and you're not appreciating it, you jerks. So, so at any rate, the entire time we're watching this thing, he keeps on going, we could do that.
Yeah.
See that thing right there? We could do that. And oh my gosh, see how they're using the lights to do the...
Yeah, and look, staggering the cityscape behind it, and then the
it gives this depth, and
so it helps build the whole surreal feeling of
the ambiance. It kind of it created a space where there shouldn't have been. It was like the illusion of space, I guess, is the better way to say it.
So after that, there was just so much more going on with us than before we walked in.
Yeah.
And then there's me taking big stupid pictures with the Lego Batman, Robin, and Joker.
Yes.
And
I need to find those. Those are great
I have
pictures.
Them.
Okay, good.
Yes. Which you'll now see here, as long as we have them and Drew doesn't edit them out. Yep.
Jazz hands instead. But so all of this experience is kind of percolating in our minds, and
we had Halloween Comic Fest coming up.
Halloween Comic Fest,
which was it's the Halloween version of Free Comic Book Day, but
or at least it was trying to be.
The way that it was, we were told to kind of market it, or it was suggested to us, didn't quite work. We hadn't quite figured that one out. So we were like, you know what I like better than just random Free Comic Day? Let's make it a Batman Day.
It's the fall. It's the right kind of attitude. It's the right feel for that time of year. Yeah, we can make an entire Free Comic Book Day style event like we do here, but we'll just do it Batman themed. And that's when he was like, oh my gosh, we can put cityscapes between all the long boxes. And
so that's why when you come into the store and see the cityscapes, it comes from just seeing that at Batman Day, and it adds to the ambiance of, hey, superheroes always fight in the cities. Look, check it out, cities in between the comics.
And it makes it look cooler than just tables covered in long boxes filled with comics, which, I mean, those are cool, but... Just dresses it up a little bit.
Yeah, and then
classes up the joint.
We have the corner of the store, which is either always filled with comic boxes or absolutely nothing. Like it's either absolutely full or absolutely empty. So I thought, well, when it's empty, let's just dress it up as the Batcave.
Yeah, I mean, there's already a light that we kind of dismantle back there anyway. It's kind of a darker corner. Why not?
Yeah, so we
another point of interest for Batman Day.
And we knowing all the teachers that we know, like we've seen them make fake rocks out of crumpled
up butcher paper.
Yeah, so we just used that to its fullest extent, and I ordered a big giant inflatable T-Rex.
The T-Rex in the Batcave.
Every single kid beat up.
Yeah, it was the punching bag of the day.
Yep.
We kind of were asking for that, though.
Well, I wasn't. I danced with it. There are pictures
with the sombrero, I think.
Here. Yeah, another rose between my teeth because I'm classy. And then, the big giant penny.
The really big giant penny. This thing was taller than I am, which I guess is not saying all that much.
Yeah.
But
it was the big giant sheets of foam core board. Because, I was like, I'm going to make the big giant penny and it's going to be super thick, and it had 28 dowel rods in it to give it support, and it had the lip to it, and
it was the most cumbersome, awful thing in the whole world.
And it was so heavy, and almost everything inside fell.
Yeah.
So it was
the dowel rods weren't quite attached properly, and so some of them were loose, so the penny rattled, and
it was so terrible. But it lasted
I guess for people
forever.
who are not as familiar, yes, there's a big giant penny in the Batcave.
Yeah,
there is a big giant T-Rex in the Batcave. I know we're talking to a mostly educated audience.
Yes, but yeah, Batman has
his trophies
from his previous adventures. So you go into the Batcave and see it. And
It was a good place for photo ops for kids to come,
Yeah.
and they're like, "I'm dressed like Poison Ivy, and I made it into the Batcave."
yeah, and the coolest spot on the store is right underneath that.
It is
vent.
right under the air
So-
conditioner in that corner.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant, wonderful spot in the
Yeah,
shop.
so it's the perfect place to put our Batmen who are overheating in their big rubber costumes or foam costumes that need to cool off. So it's perfect because it's the, hey, go cool off in the Batcave. Okay, cool, I will.
What else? Other points of the Batcave, we have our Bat computer.
Yes,
It was our clever way of hiding the X-Men machine that nobody could move.
Yeah, because it was just so big and giant. There's nowhere else in the store to move it. So we were like, God, what do we do with this? Because you have Batcave, then X-Men machine is in the Batcave. All anyone's going to say is like, oh, I didn't know Batman was an X-Men fan. And we're like, no, we dress it up like the Bat computer. Oh my God, look how perfect this is.
So the first year was pretty simple. We just covered it in black paper, and
Yeah,
there was a big sign with a bat on it, a la Adam West Batman, just Bat computer.
Yeah.
That worked. We tried to get, I guess that first year was pretty simple. Like we kept the cave pretty contained. It was little. We had a few cones of paper pretending to be stalactites and stalagmites.
Yeah,
and
I have a picture of Big Steve putting it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he looks like he's just kind of gently putting stalactites up on the ceiling. It was a good first attempt. We, as the years went on, though, we kind of
We've
refined.
overdone it. Yeah.
We've refined the process. We exceeded our original boundaries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the second year we were like, oh, well, let's do a forced perspective thing.
Ooh, forced perspective.
Yeah.
We got very ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I tried to do like, here's the ramp that the Batmobile goes down, and
So it was
we
like
can taper
it was like
down.
an inch and a half wide.
Yeah,
and he was
like
thinking,
it's
well,
starting
if it's in
big
the
and-
back of the cave, it'll look like it's far in the distance, and we can use this micro machine, and it'll look like the Batmobile is parked in the distance.
And all the kids just reached over and started
We're
trying to move the
but it
thing
was
that I
glued down.
So-
it was a mess waiting to happen, but
Yeah.
we gave it a shot.
And then the third year, the T-Rex blew a
yeah,
hole.
yeah. The T-Rex will sing taps for it
Yeah.
sometime. It self-destructed, and it was very sad and deflated. And
Yeah,
so
I built one out of cardboard and foam, and it's lasted ever since. I'm pretty proud of it.
yeah,
Like, it
yeah.
looks,
Rexy looks pretty good.
yeah. And then the penny, it finally fell apart entirely 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So we just took some of the carnival game material from the con
And made a slightly smaller one.
Much
It's
more,
still pretty big, but
yeah.
it's not overwhelmingly
Yeah, about 3.5 feet
huge.
tall. Yeah. It's manageable, and we can now store it places as opposed to have to move around it. So, which is quite the innovation around here.
But the Batcave, I mean, it ticks all the boxes. It's got all the major recognizable items, including
It's got the big Joker card.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But I was really talking about the Robin Memorial.
Oh my God, I loved it so much. So,
Oh, it's so sad.
so my nephew Ben was our
He's
first
been on.
Robin.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
You all know Ben. He's our nephew
Broccoli
with
headed.
the
Yeah.
big curly hair.
Yeah. So before he had the big curly hair, he
He was little. He was so tiny.
Yeah. he had the super short haircut and dark hair, and he wanted a really good Robin costume once. So right as I was learning how to use foam and make cool stuff, I made a foam Robin suit. For
Yeah,
him.
like the tunic, and so it looks like an armor tunic, and he gave it kind of a little bit of battle damage and texture, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Ben grew out of it.
Yeah,
in
kids
6
grow.
months.
Yeah, kids grow, and he grew more
And I was
than
like-
we anticipated very quickly. And
Yeah, and I thought, man, what am I going to do with this
we
thing?
can't just throw it out. And we didn't know any kids that were that size at the time.
Yeah.
And then he had the brilliant idea of, well, here's our Jason Todd memorial.
Yeah.
And at first I was so against it. I was like, that's too dark. That's so sad.
Yep. But I found a place to buy a big giant sheet of plexiglass.
And made a plexiglass tube.
I had to go make some phone calls, and I finally found the place. And when I went to go pick it up, they didn't understand that I wanted one sheet. B didn't understand that I wanted to buy it that day. C didn't understand that I was going to move it in my car. And yes, I do intend to roll it up first. So yeah. Oh, it was such a nightmare. And then they're like, well, what are you going to use this for? It's displaying something. Well, what are you going to display? Costume. well, don't you need more than one piece? No, I'm going to curve it around. Well, that's not a very big costume, is it? No, it's not. How are you going to fit in it?
It's not my costume.
It's not my yeah. So it was just more questions after more questions of the. It's better that we just end this conversation.
But you know that you probably made their day. They probably still tell that story.
No, they were really upset with me, and just they were just not happy with me. Like, they didn't want me going in their warehouse to pick out what kind. Like, I want the second thinnest plexiglass that they carried. I want this. I want and they just couldn't get it. So just come to the warehouse and show us. So I walked in the back room, which went into the warehouse. I want that one. Okay, well, that's not what you said. Yeah, it is. All right. So, yeah, by the end of it, they were happy to be done with me, and I was happy to be done with them. And then we ended up with the Robin Memorial, which John Martindale helped with mounting the costume inside and screwing down the plexiglass into
into a curved shape on a round base.
Yeah.
So
it's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
You should come and see it.
It's really sad looking though.
Oh yeah, it is. It's horribly depressing.
Yeah. So many people walk up and they're like, "Man, Robin's so tiny. Batman's terrible." Yeah. And I did add a mask and for the white behind the eyes on that one, I just added some spoons.
So, some white spoons behind the mask, and it looks just like the whiteout lenses. It's a pretty cool, cheap but effective effect.
Yeah, my buddy Jeff had the best comment though of well, no wonder Robin got the hell beat out of him. He had spoons in his eyes, which is thanks, Jeff. Now you're missing the whole effect there. Anyway, but yeah, it's one of my favorite things that we've built with we shouldn't throw this out. What do we do with it?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But yeah, so the cave is absolutely one of my favorite things that we do around here. And
it gets more ornate every year.
Yeah, this year we're trying to do it out of fabric.
Yeah.
Hopefully that works. If not, then the night before
we'll have our backup plan, which is crunched up brown paper.
Yeah.
As per previous years. I think we can get it done, though. This podcast may prove me wrong, but I'm optimistic at this point.
Yes. So, man, I don't know. What else do we have?
I don't know what all goes on Batman Day.
Okay, yeah. So, how about that? It's the wife keeping me on track. So, this year we have the sidewalk sale, 50-cent back issues going on all day, weather permitting. We're going to have the sale inside. We're going to have local comic artists doing free sketches,
which is always fun.
Yeah, we'll have some giveaway Batman comics.
Tons and tons of people in costume.
Yeah,
lots of cosplayers. If you have kids, come have them meet the various Batmen. We should have probably one of each of the various iterations of Batman throughout the day.
Yeah, every year we have different Batmans of different eras throughout. So I tell everyone come multiple times just to see your favorite characters because there's the original Batman. There's the time that he was a vampire. There's the time that he had to fight Crazy Quilt and had the rainbow costume. There's the time that Azrael took over.
Yeah, there's Azrael Batman. There's so the fun thing we never really got to talk about was how Batman Day went national. I mean, we've told you about how we did our first Batman Day.
Yeah, our first couple Batman days.
Yeah.
And then DC used to have a sales rep that would call every week just to see how things were going. Our rep was Pat O'Connell, and he was amazing. He took such good care of us, and I never actually got to meet him in person, but when DC made the jump from New York to California, he had to stay behind just because he lived there his whole life, and he had just had a kid, and he ended up getting a job at another comic company. But I would tell him all about what we were doing in the shop, and I told him about Batman Day. He says, "Oh my God,
really?
That sounds awesome.
Tell me more."
Yeah. So I told him everything that we did, and I was like, "Well, why don't you tell it to your higher ups and tell them that it did amazing?" And
And the first Batman Day did well enough that it actually made some national blogs. Like we were on Bleeding Cool.
Yeah, or
that got picked us up,
yeah.
or something like that. It was
we
one
think
of
it was
them.
Bleeding Cool. We'll have to go back.
We'll have to
check.
go and
It may have
fact check
been
ourselves.
Comic Book Resources. I don't know.
Comic Book News Resources.
Yeah, one of them.
.net.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, like I had a really good relationship with Pat. Like when the store had a van come through, he sent some promotional stuff for us to van crashed into the store.
Yeah, well, I'm just explaining
Sorry.
it for our audience who doesn't speak Brian.
Well, a van crashed through our store, and to help cover some of the cost, he sent us some promotional items to try to help sell and cover the cost for. And then anytime an artist would come through the store, like a professional artist, I always got him a sketch of Jonah Hex because it was his favorite character.
Cool.
So yeah, so I had a great relationship with my rep, and I told him about Batman Day, and
how we were handling, Halloween Comic Fest, which had never really caught on.
Yeah, so they didn't want to take over from Halloween Comic Fest, but they did want to make Batman Day a thing, so they ended up making it. I think it was in July that first year, and then they pushed it to September every other year. Mm-hmm. So,
but we started a trend.
Yeah,
that we'll never get credit for, except here.
Yes,
but that's okay. We know.
Yeah, maybe I'll get I don't know, Comic Book Resources or Bleeding Cool to give us the push, but whatever. Yeah, DC no longer has a sales rep that calls. I have no actual contact with them anymore, but it was really cool when I did, because it was nice being recognized. So, but yeah, I think that covers.
Yeah, that pretty
Batman
much
Day.
covers Batman Day for now.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I'm going to go back to constructing the Batcave, because that's what engineers do.
Thank you, lovely wife.
You're welcome. I love you. Okay.
Josh Wilson.
Hey.
Oh my gosh. Everyone, this is Josh Wilson. He's one of the regulars here around the store that you'll see. He is one of the reasons that we have a Josh capacity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was actually started because of me, Flowers, and Sweaty Josh at the same time.
And Scary Josh. And
Yes.
But and I always love it when more than the three Joshes come in, because you all kind of look at each other and one of you will stand up and decide to walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have to. The meeting bylaws have been passed long ago. So,
So Josh is one of the few people that probably knows more about Batman than me.
Oh, I don't know. That's possible, because I have no life to speak of. At least that's what my wife says.
Oh, you've got lots of life. So, Josh, do you want to just, deep dive into Batman stuff?
Sure.
All right. So let's go with your second favorite Batman story, just because, you got to save the best for last.
Sure. Second favorite Batman story. Man, there's so many of them, but I would say of all time, probably The Long Halloween.
Really?
The first one, yes.
Interesting.
Yes. Well, as you know, I'm a huge Two-Face guy.
Yeah.
And the lovely thing about The Long Halloween, especially with Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, obviously the creators behind the book, Jeff Loeb, the writer, Tim Sale, the artist, they really take year one, the Frank Miller seminal Batman origin.
Yeah.
And they kind of expand it, because it starts off very much with the status quo that Miller set down, that Batman and Gordon have just started a new partnership. Dent is still the crusading district attorney that's obviously fighting tons of corruption. And the Falcones, which obviously a small part of year one, have a much more expanded role in the story. It's really the story of the Batman, and it's kind of the story of the Falcone family, and kind of how they are entrenched in Gotham, and really how they view the city and their family and their history.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how they were not really part of the Batman mythos really until that recently.
Yeah, not really at all. I mean, it really was kind of just a throwaway we need some evil mobsters in year one for Batman to take down. Frank Miller probably came up with some sort of name somewhere, and there you go. They're in like a few scenes, taken out pretty quick. But here, Loeb really wants to make it longer. And he uses other characters from year one, like the corrupt Commissioner Loeb, because Jim Gordon's still a captain at the time. But it's really this wonderful story, and it's a lot of deep dive in the villains as well. Each month, obviously, if you start the book, there's a serial killer in Gotham. It's a murder mystery, of course. You don't know who the serial killer is, but he's taking out various mob family members. Starts out Falcone, but he also goes with the Maroni family. And each month is set around a holiday, because the holiday killer, as he's called, kills somebody on a holiday, leaves a little trinket behind. And Gordon and Dent are trying to figure it out. But their partnership's new, so they don't quite trust each other exactly.
Yeah.
Like Batman's like, maybe it's Dent. He seems to really hate the crime families here. But each month, you kind of get a different villain that Batman runs against. Christmas is Joker. Valentine's Day has a lot to do with Catwoman and Poison Ivy. And it keeps going that way. And one of my favorite villains, obviously, has the stage in the big way, and that's Calendar Man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the first time in a long time that Calendar Man got taken seriously.
Oh, it's a complete revamp.
Yeah.
Complete revamp. I mean, he's way more... If you see his original suit, it's this wonderfully goofy...
The red and white.
The red and white. He's got a cape that's made out of calendar pages from the different days of the month. He's completely goofy. In this, he's more of a Hannibal Lecter. He's got date tattoos that circle around his head.
Yeah, they use that for the Arkham games.
Yes, yeah. I mean, obviously, this story, big influence on every appearance he's made since.
Yeah.
But he fills very much, if you've seen Silence of the Lambs, he fills that role. He's, I know the truth behind the thing, but I'm only going to give you cryptic clues, and you're going to have to figure it out. And
yeah.
Basically, because I just like the attention, because no one's paid attention to me for years. But I have an unabashed, as most people know, I love Silver Age Batman. I have unabashed love of the orphan children villains of Gotham. Calendar Man is one of them, so any story that focuses on him to such an extent, I'm all in.
Yeah, you bring up the Silver Age Batman stuff. I know you love Silver Age more than just about anyone. Like Silver Age is like where your Batman jam is.
Oh yeah, I was so disappointed. I remember Kaylee and I went into Hot Topic this last week, and they had a shirt that was one of the images of Detective 1000, and it's all the various Silver Age versions of Batman surrounding him and Robin. And you had the toddler Batman from one story where Batman's turned into a 4-year-old. You had Mummy Batman where he had to wear the special bandages, and all sorts of
the Zebra Batman,
one of my
Batman.
other favorite stories. They even had Ace breathing fire, as you did, from the story where Ace the Bat Hound gets superpowers.
Yep.
Which they're wonderfully silly. I'm one of those guys. You put Batmite in a comic book, I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
But yes, I love those types of stories, and I love the lame villains. That's kind of been one of my collecting.
I love the Eraser. Like he's just, he's this dude who looks like a pencil and has the top of his head is a pink eraser, and it can erase things out of existence.
And he makes so many rub-out puns. It's just...
Yeah, it wouldn't be acceptable today for reasons.
No, but I mean, if you're 50s gangster slang, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I have a lot of love for those characters. Obviously, Polka Dot Man, who I love.
Oh, yeah.
Which, if you guys want to read one of the saddest stories, there's a issue where he is considered such a joke in Gotham, he can't get his suit to work anymore. He doesn't have the money to fix it, which if you go back and read his Silver Age appearances, he can pull polka dots off his suit, throw them, they turn into different weapons like a buzzsaw, teleportation disc,
like
whatever.
it's really cool. It's just he kind of sucks as a person.
He's not good at it.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the money to fix it anymore, so he runs into a bank and tries to rob it with no powers and a baseball bat. His disheveled, and Harvey Bullock just beats him half to death and takes him in and just calls him a pathetic loser, and it's just so sad. I know there's a lot of Batman writers recently that have tried to go back to those characters and try to put new spins on them, like
Tom King with Kite Man.
Yes, which is wonderful. I love his Kite Man. Very sad story.
Which is not a thing that you're like, man, I love Kite Man. Everyone should read about Kite Man.
But everyone should read about Kite Man.
Oh. If you want to be depressed for a long time.
If you read that Tom King two-parter, yes, you will be very depressed.
Oh. I mean, it's worth reading, but damn.
Dark.
Yeah.
Dark. I don't know if we want to spoil it here because it's kind of a surprise, but it's highly recommended, but it is dark.
Yep.
But he's one of those Crazy Quilt during Snyder and Capullo's run got a big overhaul. So did Dr. Death, Batman's first supervillain.
Yeah.
Even though I always thought more Hugo Strange, Mad Monk.
See,
but
I always hate thinking that Hugo Strange is a super villain. To me, he's just a villain.
Yeah, well,
like he's the I am evil T bad guy here to ruin your day.
Well, that was Golden Age. Every bad guy was a crazy super scientist.
Yeah, they're either a scientist or an industrialist that didn't want to help their workers.
Shows what people thought of rich people during the Depression, didn't it?
Yeah.
But there's a couple of villains I have a lot of affection for that have never really gotten a revamp.
Yeah.
Polka Dot Man's one of them. Signal Man is a personal favorite of mine. This is how lame Signal Man is. Obviously, he's one of the many Riddler takeoffs that they did. You had tons of them that basically it's the same shtick. I plan crimes around weird minutia.
X, Y, and Z, yeah.
And he, did signals like, I'm going to do something involving a stop sign or hieroglyphics, or got beaten up every appearance, tried to steal the bat signal multiple times. So bad at his job, he decides that he's going to adopt a new identity and basically just becomes a ripoff of Green Arrow called the Blue Bowman.
Yep.
And fails at that too. Like literally fails at everything. And he's a character. He still pops up now and then. Still the same lame. They've never tried to. He's like, I'm Signal Man.
I kind of appreciate the lame characters from time to time just because they can't all be winners. They can't all be great. So you need to have some examples of. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. You can't always be the Joker or the Riddler.
No.
Sometimes you got to be Signal Man. And it's fun that you mentioned some of those because, like, where I like to go for like classic Batman stuff is Brave and the Bold.
Oh yeah, Brave and the Bold is a great book.
Well, yeah, because most of it's Jim Aparo art, and like when I think of like my Batman, that's him. Like he's classic. He's more svelte.
Yes.
Blue and gray with the symbol.
My favorite bat suit, personally, actually.
So you get Batman every issue plus a guest star versus either a super awesome villain or absolutely one of the worst villains. Like it just kind of it's never the in between of the like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah, I think my personal favorite of the Brave and the Bold had to be the one with Ray Palmer, the Atom.
Yeah.
Where he has to go inside of Batman to get a bomb out of him.
Yes.
You could only do that story in Brave and the Bold.
Yes.
And it's so just wonderfully ludicrous, but taken so seriously in the book.
Yeah.
It's just flat out, no, this is really Batman will die if I don't do this. And you're like... Isn't it just like the Great Adventure?
Yeah, it's not quite a
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like every issue, well, almost every issue had an allusion to who the next guest star was going to be the next month because you didn't have the internet, you didn't have any kind of order catalog that would tell you, hey, coming up next month, it's going to be this character. You just kind of had to guess, or you'd look through the art and, find, oh, there's a little black cat hidden here. Catwoman's going to be the next.
Yeah, we didn't have them spoilers back in those days, back in our youngin' days. But, around that same period is some of my favorite Batman stuff. Of course, anybody who asks, like, well, who's your favorite Batman? Well, it's Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. That's my favorite Batman. Obviously, it's a very short run. Like, if you come into New World, you can probably get some of it because it's only about really 12 issues that they did together. Even though both of them did Batman much more than that, either on their own or with different partners.
Yeah, it's just theirs really kind of culminates in the 12 or so. It's kind of weird how iconic some of the shorter stories can be, and how some of the more what should be iconic stories don't get any credit just because they seem to go on so long that it ended up becoming background noise.
Oh yeah, it's strange. I guess it's that kind of Jerry Seinfeld thing. Leave them wanting more.
Yeah,
if you don't give them everything, they tend to remember it more.
Yeah, like one of my favorite Batman series gets absolutely no love, like the Batman Gotham Knights. Which is
that's a great book.
Yeah, the first 50 issues, like it went, I don't know, 100 and something issues, but the first 50 are absolutely some of the best Batman, and it comes from, as I affectionately refer to it as, asshat Batman.
Yes,
because he doesn't want a team and he's a loner, but. By God, where's Robin? I need Robin. And Nightwing. Oh God, where's Nightwing? For the love of God, I need Huntress.
Yeah.
Please.
Massive family for a guy who claims he doesn't want anything to do with anyone.
Yeah. But he's this loner. But, and my God, Alfred really came into his own in that book. Like, that's where you got the best characterization of Alfred of all time.
Well, I mean, for a long time, Alfred didn't have good characterization.
No.
He was. People forget it was really Batman 66 that Alfred's a big deal.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's because of everyone loving Alfred from that they brought him back to life because he died.
Yeah, and became the outsider. Want to talk about a lame story? There's the one for you right
Lord.
there.
Yeah,
I'm a reanimated corpse that has psychic powers and wants to be the mob boss of Gotham.
This happened, folks.
Comics are weird.
Yeah, so. I want to talk about one of my favorite issues of Gotham Knights.
Sure.
So there's an issue that you'll see with Aquaman on the cover right in front of the big giant penny underwater. Mm-hmm. So Gotham had just had the big earthquake and the big disaster, and the city was shut down, and Batman had to keep all justice and peace with everyone. Like, he put Poison Ivy in charge of feeding Gotham, and Penguin was in charge of keeping some of the order, and all sorts of awful stuff happened. But eventually, as society came back, Batman had to rebuild. So he's trying to put the cave back in order, and his big giant penny had fallen down into one of the caverns, and it was full of water. So who does he call? Aquaman.
Aquaman, ladies and
gentlemen. Because, he's super strong and can swim and lift the big penny. But you didn't just call Aquaman to get the big penny. Like, Aquaman shows up and Batman just keeps talking at him and talking at him and talking at him and telling him all about this awful stuff. And Aquaman at one point just says, hold on. Give me just a sec. So he jumps down off the side of one of the floors in the Batcave, jumps back out with a big giant penny and puts it back wherever it goes. He says, Bruce, next time you need me, just let me know. I'll bring beer. We'll hang out and talk.
And if there's one guy who you don't want to out tragedy or try to, it's probably Aquaman.
Right.
I mean, it's not just the fans outside of for a long time who dumped on Aquaman. It was the comics that dumped on Aquaman too.
Oh, yeah.
To be completely fair. That's a really good one-off. There's a lot of one-off or short stories. One from the Golden Age I really love. It's a little bit harder to track down. I don't know exactly where it's collected, but Batman 66, 68, and 80. I believe it's Batman. It might be Detective. It is the history of, it's the first appearance of Two-Face, and it's his origin story. And I know especially among new comic fans, there's a tendency to think that the Golden Age is very silly. And a lot of it is.
Most of it is.
I mean, you got to think who the target audience was when they were written. It was small
kids.
kids.
And who was making it? Because honestly, it was other, like most of the people that made comics back then were either very young teenagers or adults who couldn't be hired anywhere else.
Yeah, or freelancing to, like, I'm working on this to make money to where I can get my next major thing or a book.
Yes, people who were in advertising or couldn't make it in advertising. Yeah.
But it's the origin of Two-Face, still remarkably similar to today's. Not much has changed, except for he was originally Harvey Kent instead of Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
Then somebody from DC's like, well, we already have a guy with the last name of Kent. We should probably change that.
Yeah.
But for a Golden Age book, it's filled with a lot of emotion and pathos. You really do feel for Harvey in those books because it does start out. He is the crusading, Apollo of Gotham who wants to do right in a corrupt city. He's engaged to a beautiful woman. Everything's working out, and then acid thrown in his face, scarred.
Which, man, back then there was just acid everywhere. You're just like, hey, I need some acid for no reason.
They must have been selling it at the local corner stores. Yeah. I don't know, but it's everywhere. It's like radioactivity. It's like
it's just hold on, let me go get that.
Yeah, you want superpowers? Here's some radioactive sludge. Go roll around in that for a while.
It's plentiful.
But it's just this. It's a wonderful book, and I highly recommend if people can find it to track it down and read it.
Well, DC's finally doing a lot of the Golden Age reprints.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, because usually they'll do like the first couple issues of Detective, and then no one really cares after that. But now they're printing them in a more affordable format.
Yeah, like the digest, the cheaper stock paper.
The cheaper stock paper, which honestly, the older stuff looks way better on.
It does. It's not made for glossy paper.
No.
Namely, the deep saturation of inks. It's just not made for it.
Right.
But Two-Face is one of my, if you go by the A-list villains, which I love all of them, but he is one of my favorites. He's been in a lot of modern stories that have given him a lot of depth. Scott Snyder did a wonderful story in All-Star Batman, not related to the Frank Miller version. Don't pick up that, kids. That's especially young kids. Parents will have to explain some things.
Yeah, we don't carry it. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's when Crazy Uncle Frank lost everything.
If you want to see Robin get beat up,
a lot.
And called names. Anyway.
And forced to eat rats. Anyway. But, Scott Snyder, after his and Capullo's run, got his own book with rotating team of artists. That's the first story arc they did with Two-Face. And it's highly recommended because it's got every single, pretty much except for Joker, it's got every villain you could think of in at least some role because
everyone's out to get Two-Face.
Well, yeah, sort of kind of both because Batman decides he's had enough. Two-Face, you're done. I'm curing you. I've got a last-ditch effort. I know where it is. It's in upstate New York.
Yeah.
We're going to have to go there. So Two-Face is like, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell everyone in the world because I have so much dirt on basically everyone in Gotham from my days as a DA. I've just got files and files. If I make it to New York and cured, those are going to be released and everybody's going to die. Going to have their secrets exposed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you can do it purely for money because he offers a reward too, or you can do it because you're afraid of who you really are.
Yeah.
And, it's the big philosophical where Batman's like, no, everybody's basically good. People aren't bad. And Two-Face, no, you're deluding yourself. Not everybody has a good side, but everyone has a dark side. So it basically becomes this weird road trip with Batman and Two-Face where they're trying to get to this place where Batman's convinced he can fix Harvey. And, they're either trying to kill Batman, but eventually they figure out, well, you made this threat, Harvey, so they're trying to kill you, too.
Yeah. And it's a really great story if you can suffer through the John Romita Jr. art.
John Romita Jr. not the best artist for it.
Some of the scratchiest stuff he's ever put out. But
his DC work has not been the best.
Nope.
It's not his Spider-Man level quality
just needs
stuff.
to stick to Punisher. just do that.
That would probably be the best, but it's a good book. Of course, I will recommend anything that Snyder has written with Batman. Really seems to understand the character. Capullo obviously is a great partner artist.
Oh yeah. Like of the New 52 stuff, Batman is easily the best thing that came out of it.
Yeah, and that's a short list.
Yeah, I mean it's that and Justice League.
Yeah,
oh,
pretty
and
much.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yep. Those three things leave the rest.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation.
So, but speaking of Justice League, I would be amiss to not mention probably the best Batman story outside of any Batman themed comic comes from Grant Morrison's first story in Justice League in JLA. I think it's 1 through 4. 1 through 4.
1 through 4.
1 through 4. So the White Martians come down and trying to overthrow things, and they're taking down all of Earth's heroes systematically, but they don't really worry about Batman.
Because he has no powers.
Yeah, the entire time they're like, what's with this guy? Oh, he dressed up for me? All right, cool. Yeah, let's just ignore him. And then, Batman has one of the greatest defeats in all of comic history with the, I shouldn't say.
I won't say because I love that book too, but you know how much I love Morrison. But it does have one of the best lines about Batman of all time, and it's not really a spoiler because it's not going to go into what the plot is, but it's where the leader of the White Martians is just frustrated, and he's like, he's just a man, and Superman's like, he's the most dangerous man on the planet, and you just Batman cracking his fingers, let's get to work, and that is when I knew, like, Grant Morrison knows Batman, and of course he calls his the Neil Adams hairy-chested James Bond Batman.
Which it's really funny he says that because he and Howard Porter talked about making sure that anytime Batman was drawn, he had the pointy fingers.
Yes.
Which is like the creepiest Batman.
But that's so in Porter's wheelhouse that, very angular and stuff. But yeah, I love Morrison's version of Batman. I highly recommend Batman Inc. from a few years ago.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Back when the big trend was superheroes exposing their secret identities, and we thought that's what this was going to be, and then it ended up not being that. It was Bruce Wayne coming out to bankroll all Batman and Batman-like people.
A Batman in every country. That was or a Batman family member in every country.
Yeah.
Although you did have like the Batman of Japan, who was a Batman, but you would also have France. They had Night Runner.
England had Knight and Squire.
Yes. Australia had Dark Ranger.
Yeah.
Which was fun. But it's just this great book, and it's kind of a spy book because it's Batman against a massive secret organization called Leviathan.
Yeah.
Before Bendis got his hooks into it and ruined it. But it's really good. It starts off, you think it's a bunch of one-off stories, maybe 2 issues max.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely it shows that it's one story.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's where Damian first met his end.
Yeah.
Because you start off hating Damian, and then by then everyone loved Damian.
Which was Morrison, apparently, according to him, his plan the entire time. It's like, you're going to hate this insufferable brat, then you're going to finally love him, and then I'm going to kill him.
And oh my God, Bat Cow
is...
Oh.
Damien has a menagerie of pets. Because he's got Bat Cow, he's got the cat Alfred.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got Ace the Bat Hound. I swear, Batman not only has more children, but he has more animals.
Yeah, but I just love that, like, the kid who's like trying to kill and like the most lethal of all the Robins and just the most insufferable jerk loves animals. Just absolutely, unabashedly loves animals.
It's those little, like, we're going to humanize him by peppering in these little...
Well, and the one story where Bat Cow actually thwarts a crime. Like...
Only in comics.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's the silliest setup, and it's the only way that could actually happen, and it's brilliant.
It is, and I love the animal characters. I don't know why, but I'm a sucker for Ace. Maybe it's because my son loves Ace the Bat Hound and tries to convince our dog that he's Ace the Bat Hound, who's having none of it, but, good-natured pooch that he is, plays along. But yeah, I love that. Morrison really seemed to understand the silliness of the Silver Age and bring it into a modern mindset. Like, oh, all these stories happen, but if we just tweak it a little bit, we can take it sort of serious.
He would lean into the more serious side of things, or lean really hard into the sillier side of things to balance all that out.
But it all felt like, and I think that's, for me, one of the reasons Batman has endured and he's one of the most popular characters of all time is that he's so versatile.
Yes.
You can drop him. There are certain characters that don't feel right in certain stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know you're a huge Fantastic Four guy.
Yes.
You don't want to do grim and gritty Fantastic Four.
Absolutely not.
Doesn't work.
There, from what I understand, there's about an hour and a half worth of it that Fox spent a couple $1 million on.
But Batman is one of those characters, you can drop him in any story and it seems to work. You can do a detective, dark story. You can do
the buddy cop. You can do a heist. You can do
You can do the big, gigantic. Like with Dark Knight's Metal, he's fighting gigantic demon monsters.
In the Snyder stuff, he has a mech suit.
Yeah,
that breaks out of a building, and it doesn't feel out of character. That, of course, Batman has a big mech suit for when big giant monsters show up in Gotham
with brass knuckles made of miniature red suns, just to take down Superman. I will give Snyder credit for let's not do kryptonite. Kryptonite's been done to death. So, well, what do you got? Well, red sun radiation hurts Superman.
Yeah.
So why doesn't he have brass knuckles filled with tiny itty bitty red suns?
Yeah. Gravity's no issue. Unless they're really tiny. So Josh, we're starting to run out of time. Give me your most underrated Batman series.
Most underrated. During its day, I don't think it was so much underrated, but I think now it has been. It's kind of been forgotten. Batman Shadow of the Bat.
Oh, where it's all the vignettes that
it's various stories set through various times in Batman's career. Some of them run concurrent. Some of them might be from earlier in his career. The first story arc from that is just phenomenal. It's called Last Arkham.
Yeah.
It's basically, if you're a big fan, because, I know we've stayed away from some of the huge books like, Killing Joke and things like Year One.
Yeah, well, I figured that those are pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Killing Joke, Hush, all those.
People have talked about it. People know about them.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about Last Arkham is it's kind of a takeoff on Morrison's Serious House on Serious Earth. It carries some of the same themes, where Batman tries to go undercover in Arkham to solve a crime, and he's basically actually committed by Amadeus Arkham, who's starting to go crazy himself.
Yeah. Because
of the family history. Basically, his whole family line going back has been nuts, and it's like, is it genetic? Is it the house? Apparently, that Arkham's founded on.
Does Arkham need to not exist because of all of this?
Yes.
That story is absolutely fantastic.
And I think it is, and it was kind of a big deal when it came out, but I think slowly over time it's kind of been forgotten about.
Yeah, just because they felt like throwaway stories at the time.
Yeah.
But going back, it's honestly some of the best single issue Batman, or single story Batman stories.
And if you're a big fan of Victor Zsasz, that is his first appearance. I don't know anybody who is, but if you are.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there is somebody out there that is.
I'm a fan.
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's my favorite of the villains.
No.
Not anywhere near. Another one that I will say that's more recent that I think has been forgotten is if you can look up Paul Dini's run from Detective.
That is fantastic. Speaking of Two-Face and stuff, because Batman had taken off for a year and put a cured Harvey Dent in charge.
And it doesn't work out well.
But while Batman was gone, Harvey Dent had more or less fixed crime in Gotham, had shut down a lot of the illegal trade, had just done everything that Batman couldn't. So when Batman shows up, it's like, cool, man, I got this now. Harvey loses it.
Yeah.
Like,
Turns out that the ego is tied a lot into Harvey Dent's personal problems.
yeah, and Harvey didn't like throw on a costume or anything. He just had like a rope.
Yeah, he was wearing like Dexter clothes
Yeah,
from like the TV show.
Yeah,
It's like, I'm just wearing a dark sweater and dark pants.
Yeah,
and-
he had sweatpants and he's kicking everybody's ass. Yeah.
But yeah, wonderful stories. A lot one off. If you're a big fan of Zatanna, of course she makes
And of course
appearances.
I am. Yes. It's fun that you mentioned Paul Dini because what I feel the most underrated Batman series is Batman Adventures, the ones based on the cartoons.
Oh yeah, those are great.
Yeah, almost every issue is single issue or a single story issue, and I swear to God, if they didn't have the cartoon artwork, and they were put in Batman or Detective Comics, they would be hailed as some of the best Batman stories ever written.
I can't disagree with you on that. I think they would. I do think that probably a lot of the reason that it's just not remembered well is because a lot of cartoon tie-in comic books,
They were just cash grabs.
yeah, people don't think much of them. Oh, this doesn't count.
Whereas, there's a good handful that are like some of the best detective stories I read in any Batman comic, which for a book called Detective Comics, very rarely do you see any detective.
Not a
work.
lot of the
Like,
time.
Rucka and Brubaker were kind of the
Yeah.
only ones that did detective stories.
That's pretty accurate. And if you can track down Rucka's run, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's not one that you have to have all of. Like, you can just
No.
hold chunks from. Yeah.
Very short stories. A neat trick that they do. I forget who the artist is, but the color saturation in the book.
Yeah.
Because they would do a thing where it'd be mostly black and gray, but they would use one color tone.
Yeah, and it'd be thematic throughout the story.
And if you're somebody who really likes art and likes neat little tricks like that, highly recommend that one.
Yeah.
Has a lot of, if you're a DC guy who likes the Religion of Crime, this is its first appearance because you get Whisper Adair and Abbott. So in the first story arc.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's really good, and of course everything Rucka writes is pretty good, especially when he gets a chance to do detective stories.
Yeah.
So,
All right, Josh, it has come to the time. What is your favorite Batman story?
it's almost like picking my favorite child.
Well, you have one, so of course it's Oliver.
It's Oliver. It has to be Oliver.
Yeah. Remember that any future children he has, it's always Oliver. Kayla's going to shoot me.
I think I really do think, and we talked a little bit about some of my favorite villains, but I am a huge Joker fan, and I really think the 2-part Joker Fish story is
Marshall Rogers and
I think is my favorite, just because to me, if you want to understand the Joker, there are tons of books. Snyder wrote a very good deep dive on the Joker, but the Joker Fish story is perfect because Joker is basically just an evangelical nihilist. That's all he is. He's like, nothing means anything. It's all pointless fun. So this story is a perfect example of that, where he poisons the Gotham River to where all the fish look like him and then tries to trademark all fish because they have his face. And when he goes to the patent office and tries to explain this, the poor patent clerk, who's scared to death, is like, you can't patent fish, it's a natural resource. And Joker he doesn't care.
Yeah.
This is what he's decided to do that day. And it's just okay, like, don't look for reason in Joker. It doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
His reason is like, everything has no reason. I'm going to prove it, and I'm going to show that to you. So that's got to be one of my favorites. If we're going long story arc, Snyder and Capullo's run is probably one of my recent favorites of all time, and I do almost count it as one whole story made of individual stories.
I mean, outside of the hiccup with Jim Gordon as Batman, it really is, hey, here's everything Batman.
Yeah. And like I said, if you're a Joker lover, if you love the Joker,
yes, it has 3 of the best Joker appearances.
Yeah.
It
just there's a perfect scene, and I think it's in was it called the Endgame story arc, where Batman is it's a close up of Joker's face, and he has the funeral director haircut, which I love the thing about that. But where he zooms in on Joker's face, he just talks about, is he human? He doesn't blink.
Yeah.
Everybody blinks, and I've counted. I've spent so much time looking at that face. He doesn't ever blink. And I just love that whole distillation of like, no, he's not human. He might have been human.
But he's not human in the sense that you think of.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is a person. He's not human.
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, but yeah, that's one of those weird speeches that Snyder wrote that I very rarely reach out on social media to creators because I don't, who wants to bother them? But just like that is a perfect page. Kudos to you and Mr. Capullo. I love that. That's perfect, and granted, he actually wrote back and was like, thank you very much. And I was like, oh, that's great. So,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah. So,
well, cool. I want to finish off with my absolute favorite end-all be-all Batman story. I mean, this isn't like, oh, I love Killing Joke and Hush and all that stuff, and then this is the one under it. This is my number one go-to, absolutely, positively favorite Batman story of all time. Batman Venom.
Lovely story.
Yeah, it's from Legends of the Dark Knight. It's, I think, the third story arc in it because it's kind of like Shadow of the Bat, where it's just these miniseries in the series.
Yeah,
and it will take place in different eras of Batman's career. And this is pretty early on in his career, so to speak.
Yeah.
And this explosion happens and knocks some people into the water, and then like debris comes down from a bridge. And this little girl gets trapped under this boulder. So Batman dives into the water and tries to lift it, and he can't lift it, and she dies. And Batman can't handle it.
Yeah.
Like, all he can see is, her face lose life. And it affects him so much that he starts training even harder, and he's determined that he's going to lift that amount of weight. Like, if he could just go back and save her, like he's going to make sure that this can never happen again, which is very much the whole point of Batman is, he's doing this to make sure that bad things never happen again. So he pushes himself and can't quite lift that amount. Like, he's just shy of, doesn't think that he could, can do it. So he starts looking into other things that can enhance that strength. And he comes across this brand new drug called Venom, which is the same stuff that Bane got hooked on.
Denny O'Neil bringing back a concept later on.
Yeah. So it's one of those that, it sent Bane crazy.
Yeah.
So Batman starts, tries out Venom a little and likes it, and he gets the results real quick, and he thinks, all right, this is the way to go. And he gets hooked, and he starts getting hyper violent, and he starts just going crazy and just doing all the wrong things that Batman wouldn't do. And then halfway through the story, you realize that this is a story about Batman who, like, his superpower is determination and, stick-to-itiveness, having to learn how to kick a drug addiction.
Yeah.
That if he kicks this drug addiction, he's going to undo that work that he did to overcome that obstacle. So he has to choose between not being the greatest at something and being able to just function.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
And I think it's nice because, I love that story too. We're not used to, especially in modern DC, seeing a Batman who fails.
Yeah. So this is the absolute failure of Batman.
Yeah.
And him building himself back up.
Yeah. And I think is kind of the message that Batman, if there's a consistent message of you can overcome.
Yeah.
If you work hard enough. I know most people it's vengeance. It's more aspiring to be something greater than yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why a lot of little kids really gravitate towards Batman, because it's like, Batman says if I can do it, you can do it. You just have to work at it.
Yeah.
And I really do think that's the positive message of Batman, but
I like that.
Man,
Josh, that is the perfect thought to end this whole thing on. Like you have just nailed the whole thing.
Well, once out of a billion ain't hard.
Josh, we will definitely have you back on a future podcast just to talk other stuff. Which I mean, outside of Batman, what else is there? Am I right?
Not much. No, there are a lot of.
Oh, there's lots. But
yeah.
Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. You will be dressed as the Red Rain Batman.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll have so much cool stuff going on tomorrow. For those who aren't here tomorrow,
why aren't you?
Yeah, check out the pictures on Facebook of the things you missed. So, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all next week.